Hello, Angela.
Hi, Judith.
How lovely to see you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's very nice to talk to you.
We're so interested to hear your thoughts and ideas, but we'd like to start off with just the sort of very basic question is why did you come to the Alexander technique? What drew you to it?
Well, it's an interesting thing because I'd heard of it in my 20s. And that was when I was working at St Thomas's as a radiographer. My superintendent was a passionate believer, and she talked at length about its amazing benefits for her back pain. And as I wasn't ever experiencing any back pain, I thought that's interesting. And it sort of went in one ear and out the other. But I did note that after she retired, she did go to train herself to become a teacher, which I remembered. Years later, when I was struggling with a shoulder injury, so I had a work-related musculoskeletal disorder that caused me to resign my post as advanced practitioner of obstetric ultrasound at St Peter's Hospital. And after I resigned, my superintendent there, Brenda Walton, different lady, said to me, I'm sure Alexander Technique would help you out and sort it all out. And I was a little bit cynical because I felt I'd tried every recommended treatment. The rheumatologist had given me a whole program, things like physiotherapy, cranial osteopathy, massage, heat and ice treatments, and they'd all given me short-term relief, 10 minutes or so, but I hadn't felt that they'd helped me very well. And in fact, the rheumatologist told me that my injury would never heal. So as when Brenda said, you should try it, I just thought, I will try it, but it didn't hold out much hope. And well, I'm just so thrilled and thankful that I did.
So then you went on to train, and who did you train with?
So I trained with Ron Colyer, who's, such a lovely man. And it was very early on. So my first lessons are with Sue Mary, who you know very well. And it's just wonderful now as I look back and connect all the dots. It's really great that she was my first teacher, and honestly the early lessons were so profound. I knew very soon I needed to be doing this. This is what I was meant to be doing with my life. And just thought, I can't mention it to Sue, she'll think I'm crazy. It's so soon. And then I plucked up the courage to say, do you think, Sue, do you think I could look into this? And it was literally 3 months after my first lesson, I was on the training course.
Wow, that is a light bulb moment there.
Yeah, completely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then, so after your training, you've gone on to work in education, which is very exciting for us to hear about. Where have you taught? In which schools?
Okay, so I work at Wellington College right now, and I've been there 4 years now. So I work there 2 days a week in term time, teaching pupils 13 to 18, mainly music scholars. The music department allow the scholars to take 5 half-hour lessons per term. It's optional. I do have some non-scholars as well, where parents are paying, and also some staff members, which is very, very nice. I did teach at Yehudi Menyon School for a year. And this year I've been asked to set up a brand new program at Charterhouse School, which is very exciting. We've been a bit thwarted with coronavirus because we really just started in January, and just starting the take up when things have got delayed. But hopefully when we return, we can come back online with that program. And I do also teach medical imaging professionals because, of course, that's my background. So now and again I do a study day if I'm invited to a hospital to teach my fellow medical professionals how to avoid injury and protect their careers. So it's nice to have such a variety.
And just because we're talking in the context of education today, I wonder what you would sort of sum up as why Alexander is useful in an educational setting.
This is an educational method in self-care, and that's super important. Building up emotional and physical resilience is such a priority. There are so many demands on them in this day and age, and certainly currently even more so, because with working online, doing school from home, they're also socializing online, and additional screen time takes a toll of its own. Eye strain, headaches, sluggishness, everything's a bit sedentary. And on top of that, they've still got the regular ongoing educational demands, the competition for university places and exam grades, and there's peer pressure still. It's in a different form at the moment, but it's still there. So Alexander's technique, it just keeps on delivering ways of helping us through the challenges as they arise. And in a boarding environment, being away from home is challenging, sharing space with so many others. So really helpful in bringing us back to ourselves, helping us gain perspective, keeping our field of attention unified, because it can get very scattered with so many external demands. Really helpful with anxiety, thoughts, and panic attacks. They happen as well. Really is a very useful set of skills for helping us retain a sense of self, developing trust in oneself, and becoming comfortable in one's own skin. I wish I'd known it back then, and also, and another level, this is what, so it helps on so many levels. Performance in sports, for example, running speeds, if I've never had a personal best in running, but if you were athletic, that's a very important point, and it does help with those sorts of things. Avoiding backache with fielding in cricket has been a successful venture of mine. Golf swing, improving the golf swing, and improving dancing, or fewer aches and pains with dancing. And as well as that, there's of course performance in the arts, drama, music, speaking, delivering talks. So that there is just so many areas that the technique helps with.
That's just wonderful to hear that you're absolutely clear that it does offer that. It's wonderful. So in these strange old times where everything has changed a little bit about how we're delivering the work, I wondered if you could tell us a bit about how Alexander can be taught online.
It's just incredible, and in a way it's more authentic to the way that Alexander himself learned to work on himself. He was using mirrors, and we're using laptop cameras as our tool for observing. I think he'd be proud, so using our observational skills and verbal instruction, the pupil becomes more independent in applying Alexander's technique to themselves. Again, it helps on so many levels. Retaining spatial awareness using a computer, there's a challenge in itself. And it's for sort of forcing us all to become healthier in our very modern lifestyles. And what a fantastic tool. How to keep your energy up and vibrant and muscles toned and engaged, and breathing naturally whilst learning online, sitting for so long, and not even having the opportunity to walk between lessons. So, sometimes there's been a few comments made about people saying, it's just a bit strange. I'm learning maths, and then click, I'm doing English. I don't even walk from one room to another. So it's and then you sort of realise the importance of that natural break, and moving your whole physical body to a different room to process what you just learned, and then be open to a different subject, different teacher, and that everything is sort of blurring. So even more important now, how to retain an upright torso, integrated, available for movement, so that we don't get into a habit of collapsing because we're sitting for so long without such movement, and how to communicate through screens and how to stay connected to yourself and your friends remotely, and even with physical distancing. It's very unhuman to be so far apart. And so it's been really helpful, helping pupils become more comfortable with this social distancing. So they're not feeling so isolated, because you can still connect, and it's just using all the ways and making them more conscious. So it's teaching us very many relevant skills, and of course fantastic semi-supine to recover if we fall foul. And I know some of the pupils just a week or so ago really hit the wall, and there was eye strain and migraines, and so we knew the way to recover.
Just a brief question here really is how you would identify the difference.
Yeah, it's very different, but in a way it's sort of setting up the foundations for a constructive mindset. Of course there's no hands-on, which the pupils really like. Don't we all? We all really like that and miss it in a way. But really Alexander's technique is about thinking. So this is, I was sort of thrilled in a way, thinking, oh great, so now they're going to be fast-tracked into being able to work on themselves. And as we all know, as teachers, it's not always pleasant, is it? It's challenging. I was pleased that, I've had such a long relationship with many of them, and they've had many hands-on lessons to draw on. That the sort of transition, it was sort of easier to bridge, because they sort of know what to expect, how it's meant to be or how it's meant to feel, the sensations that they've had before, and then they're sort of getting them again themselves, which is surprising them many times. Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful, because that leads me into the question, which is, how are the students finding it? How is it landing with them, really?
So they are, they all say it's harder. It is harder. But they all say, but nevertheless, it's still beneficial. It's just like having a lesson, but they've got to think more. And really balance and coordination when you're working on yourself is center stage, isn't it? So you're acutely aware when you're not feeling secure in a movement, or all our lessons at Wellington are recorded, so that's really quite nice as well, that they can see themselves at the time, and then they can actually go back and review. Very
interesting. That's really, I don't know that that's happening everywhere. That's very...
No, I don't think it is, but yeah, it's part of the safeguarding policy to record. And you think, well, the benefit of that is you can go back and look again. What was I doing? How was I doing it? When you're not in the moment, you can learn a lot more when you look back.
Yeah, that is really, as one of my sons would say, super cool.
Yeah, very cool.
So you've sort of described already a little bit about how does it compare to one-to-one lessons, or what the benefits are. Is there any more you'd like to say around that?
Yeah, if we talk about the drawbacks for a minute, there are technical glitches which can flow gets interrupted sometimes if there's a time delay, or there's a glitch with the pixely moment or something like that, then flow is interrupted. It just creates a different stress, a new stress. You just have to keep your sense of humor when that happens, because it's not the end of the world, is it? It's just a moment, but it's just interesting, our response, isn't it? Because we're trying ever so hard to hear the other person, or or see exactly what happened. And if the moment is missed, there's always an opportunity for another moment to explore it again.
Yeah, well said, Angela. That's so true, and we sort of, that's so deeply ingrained in us all, isn't it? To sort of be the perfect online teacher as well as offline, and yet we're all just experimenting with it. Yeah. Would you say there's any other drawbacks?
I mean, the main one, elephant in the room, of course, there's no physical touch. And, you know, we all really like that. And, you know, I think the pupils really miss it. But it's just not possible at the moment. So, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And one pupil, she was so articulate when I asked her, and she said, well, it's just that how can you have empathy for what's happening in my body when you can't touch me? And that's it, really, isn't it? It's sort of satisfying when you get the nervous systems communicating, that there's a reassurance about that, isn't there? It's very reassuring, which is missing. That's the missing link. But, you know, we all have to become independent, don't we? So
that is so well said, I think. And yeah, I mean, that's really what the work is about in many ways, isn't it? I think this is an important question for us all really to consider, is what's at the heart of the work. If you were to think, you know, what is really the beating heart of the ideas and the practice of the work?
I mean, for me, it's a deeply spiritual journey. You know, I know it's not everyone's experience, but it certainly has been mine. And what I realized through my training was that actually, although my work was blamed for my shoulder injury, because it was labeled a work-related musculoskeletal disorder, it did exacerbate my injury. But in actual fact, I'd been working on my injury my whole life, you know, and I had no idea. I wasn't deliberately trying to give myself a shoulder injury. But through my behavioural patterns, my postural movements, my personality, you know, I was very shy as a child and I didn't really want to be seen or heard. I also grew very tall, so I was head and shoulders above my peers. So I developed habits to shrink myself to become, in my view, a more acceptable size. And those habits, you know, caused a lot of suffering later and along the line. So I just think what a fantastic set of skills that we should be teaching all young people, so we don't have to inadvertently end up in a state like that. So for me, it's just super important to help people sort of work with their own nature, their true nature. Let's find out, you know, and be comfortable with who we really are. In terms of structural size, you know, your personality, you know, it's all perfect. So we've just got to get comfortable, and we're all unique individuals, and we all celebrated. We should be celebrated and not trying to fit in to a box that we're not meant to fit into. So that's really the crux of it for me. I mean, I love it. It's a very rewarding profession. And yeah, I'm very glad of the path it's taken for me, actually. I think when I resigned my post as a sonographer, I was hugely upset, thought the world had ended. And then there was something better just waiting. And it was all meant to be. It was a perfect apprenticeship, if you like.
Oh, Angela, that is so wonderful to hear and so beautifully put. Thank you very much. And that just concludes the interview, but I just wanted to say, are you the Angela Bradshaw who did the wonderful TED Talk, which I'd like to recommend everybody go and have a look at?
Thank you. That is me, yes. In 2013 that came about, and I just was thinking about this the other day. The theme of that TEDx was facing the future. And it's just so relevant because Alexander's technique is the one you need.
And that we can go from being that shy young person to someone who does a TED talk is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm still a bit shy, but you know what I mean. I
Working on it. We're all
working on it.
Thank you so much for sharing these thoughts with us today. Well,
it's been a pleasure. Oh.
Lovely to hear. Thank you.